If you're in the market for a brand new TV, I'm not going to waste any of your valuable time and energy or your valuable money with just drawing out the video. I'm going to tell you whether or not the Sony A80J is worth it. So smack a like on this video, subscribe, and join the journey because I'm getting to the point right now. Essentially, no. Buy the LG C1. It's cheaper. It does basically the same exact thing, more or less, from a picture quality perspective, and you get more features. Albeit, there are some things that do suck, like PS4, PS5, locking out of those game mode settings. That sucks. That would be the deal breaker. Otherwise, if you watch movies, the C1 is probably going to be better in every aspect. So let me just dive in by talking about motion. If you don't like motion processing, and I mean like you hate it, you disable it because you don't like soap opera effect, I mean, honestly speaking, you're just better off not even buying this TV, because if you turn off soap opera effect or motion processing at all, you're going to be met with the worst judder I think I've ever seen on a TV. It was so bad it looked like somebody was shaking the image side to side because of how badly it jitters. Don't believe me? Buy it and turn off all your processing and then have to make the trip back to the store. Might sound harsh, might sound like I'm nagging or even bashing Sony, but they just aren't trying anymore. It's incredibly frustrating because as a reviewer, I try to look for bright spots, right? Things where I can tell you that they've absolutely exceeded, and they're definitely there. The image quality, for one, overall is exceptional. You'll have beautiful balancing between highlights, and the details are really there. It's a Sony TV, right? Depth is one of those things that really will pull you in and draw you in, blow your mind. Colors, again, very impressive. But honestly speaking, compared to even something like the Sony A80J that I currently own right now, which launched in 2019, it's not doing something so fundamentally different that you need to run out and waste your money on something like this. And I say waste because the A8H is still available right now at the time of doing this review in May of 2021. So again, just buy the A8H because honestly, you're getting most of the image quality anyway. Now, again, there's not to say that there aren't some benefits. Again, contrast is a bit tighter, I suppose, but honestly, it is what it is. The black levels are OLED. You don't have any problems. We already know that. The gray uniformity is clean. I didn't have any problems, but you still do have image retention. You have great highlights. You have okay brightness. I mean, it's about, honestly, 100 nits dimmer, after calibrating and all that other stuff than what you'd find on the Sony A90J. They're virtually identical. The only difference is if you aren't using Vivid, if you're using Vivid mode on the A90J, which is the supposed step-up model, you can get up to over 1,000 nits. I mean, that's great and all. It's a nice little party trick, but it's really not that usable. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to drop down to that 800 nit range on average anyway. And this TV sits, like, I measured it at like 716. And that was just SDR. That wasn't even HDR. Now, while we're talking about HDR, HDR is terrible. I'm just going to get that out of the way. I put on some Dolby Vision content, was not impressed. Unfortunately, because once you calibrate in SDR, it carries over into HDR. What this means for you is your white balance is going to be completely thrown off. Now, if you aren't calibrating at all, you're just a regular person pulling this out of the box trying to get the best out of your TV, this also means that whatever inconsistencies you noticed in your picture for SDR, they're going to carry over to HDR. So if your screen is overly yellow or overly green, it's going to be the same way in HDR. 9 times out of 10, that's what ends up happening. They haven't fixed this because, unfortunately, there's no way to turn on separate white balance presets for the separate modes. SDR should have its own white balance, but it doesn't. And this is one of those problems that you're going to run into. Now, upscaling is pretty good. You're not going to have any real problems there. Input lag is lackluster at best. Again, you're better off just buying an LG C1 if you're a gamer, because this is not a gaming TV. Now, I know Sony promises their variable refresh rate later on this year, but they also, to be fair, promised that on the Sony X900H to a bunch of people that never even got it. Sony can pick and choose who they help out and who they don't, and it seems like they're immune from any responsibility. It just seems like at every turn I want to say something nice about this TV, I have to weigh up the fact that they're still forcing you to comply with Google's terms of service. No matter how many reviews I put out, no matter how many times it's mentioned, they're still going to make you comply. So if you, out of the box, don't agree with it, you have to take it back. They don't care how you feel. You just paid over $2,400 after taxes for this, for just a 55-inch, let alone if you bought a 65 or something bigger, right? And they already are trying to tell you what you can and can't do with your product. That alone is where I walk personally. I don't like that kind of thing. But, it goes even further because You still have the risk of burn-in, so they're not doing you any favors because unlike LG, they don't have a logo luminance feature. It's built into the standard picture mode, which is great and everything, but what about the other modes? It's just like, I don't know, from the user interface, which is extremely clunky and worse than it's ever been this year because they paired it with Google, and Google is like this year going above and beyond to be extra. And what I mean by that is like, you can't use stuff that you used to be able to just access without signing up. The TV is basically a dud if you do not want to go up to Google. Before, after you signed up your TV on the old Android platform they had before this, you were able to access the Google Play Store at the very least, download apps and do what you needed to do, go on YouTube. You can't even do that, dude. Like, that's how bad it is. At least on my unit, maybe I'm one of the people with a fairy tale myth of a defect, but I think other people will experience the same thing. Now, also, if you ever have any problems, customer service at Sony is pretty terrible. They have pretty bad attitudes, so just bear that in mind. This isn't a nice company. And at every point, it seems like Sony is just determined to skirt responsibility of taking care of the consumers, providing an actual upgrade over things like the last year's models or even years prior, and truly living up to their claims. This year, the cognitive processor is a gimmick. Anyone saying otherwise is flat out lying to you. I've compared it to the X1 Extreme chip on my Sony A80J with very negligible differences at all. They looked identical. And worse even, I had more details and more contrast clarity on my Sony A80J. It's so annoying because I want to tell you that you can run out and buy this because you're excited about it, or maybe you've read somewhere like rtings.com, who calls themselves ratings even though they don't put the A in the name. Yeah, very weird stuff there. But you've read about it on all these other places and you think it's amazing and you want to go get it. But honestly, if you do that, you're blowing your money. You're literally pissing it away out of the window for no reason. Buy the LG C1. It's exceptional. LG didn't put me up to say that. And if you don't believe me, go on my channel, go to the homepage and look at my most popular videos. Some of them are about why you never buy LG OLED. I'm telling you right now, that has changed because of that kind of commentary. And well, now it's Sony's turn. You should not be buying the Sony line this year because they're just not trying anymore. And that's just the simple answer. If you have specific questions, ask them down below and I'll do everything I can to help you out to find the right unit for you and your family. So ultimately speaking, you don't waste the money you work so hard for. But again, subscribe and join this journey if that's something that you like. If you like honesty, again, just follow the journey, subscribe, and I got your back. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later.